Yo, YouTube, what is up? Welcome back to the Radar for Wrestling Studios.
What up, Marks?
Guys, AEW Dynamite just finished up. It's the AEW Dynamite before the AEW Awards show next week, a big show for next week. This is a halfway decent episode of AEW Dynamite. It's been kind of lacking recently, AEW Dynamite, ever since, the first, Kenny Omega, Good Brothers showing up. It's kind of just like some of the show's been hit or miss. We got a couple things to get, so we do have two takeaways from the show, and then at the end of this episode we have some news on thoughts from Booker T and Bully Ray on Busted Open Radio as to what they think between NXT and AEW, which one they think is better and why, reasons why. So we'll break that down at the end of the video, so make sure you tune in all the way to the end so you get you get to hear our opinions on that and what was said between Booker T and Bully Ray on Busted Open Radio. So without further ado, let's get into the two takeaways from AEW Dynamite. But before we do, I want to remind you guys to smash that like button and comment on the video because it helps out with the YouTube algorithm. We do appreciate you guys conversating with us and the connection between us and the community and stuff like that. We're really enjoying that, so keep it coming. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel. Thank you to all new subscribers. Notification bells, guys, when new videos drop. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. Same handles for all the social platforms. Follow me there. Links in the description. You already know what time it is. Let's get right into it. Two takeaways from AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite started off with the birthday party, for Brody Lee Jr. -1. And that was broken up by Luther and Serpentico. They would have a match, Dark Order with Hangman Page against TH2 and the Chaos Project, Luther and Serpentico. Obviously, who would get the win here. It was the Dark Order winning the match. They would, throw Luther into the cake, and Brody Lee Jr. would get involved with the kendo stick, hitting, a few guys with that. But in the end, they're asking, John Silver's asking Adam Page if he's going to join. He had a big celebration planned. He says he's not going to join because he's done the group thing before and it didn't really work out that well. I was talking about the Elite, so that's pretty much all it was. It was kind of all right. I mean, good thing. It's good. It's good for Brody Lee Jr. to be out there and enjoying for the family, all that stuff after the tragic events of his father. So that's the only good thing about it. Really, the rest of it's kind of whatever's. With the Hangman trying to join or whatever.
Hopefully, Dark Order, they're in a little bit of a transition going from the from the crazy stuff that was happening to what they're gonna do next. So maybe Hangman Page will join sooner or later, but that's kind of where they're at. Yeah.
Next thing on the show, we had Cody versus Peter Avalon. This match is whatever. It's not that great. Cody gets the win, but it's issues between Cody when he kind of is like his own worst enemy because Double A gets upset with him after the match and stuff like that. But he's gonna answer Shaq next week. Cody Rhodes is, so we'll see what happens with that. Nothing much special to talk about there. Next thing on the show, we had Jon Moxley versus Nick Komoroto, and Moxley would get the win here. Big, caveman looking dude. As he's part of the Nightmare family or the Nightmare Factory guy. So we'll see. He talked a lot of trash about Omega after the match. Moxley did, so that rematch is eventually coming. But
yes, it is.
Let's get to takeaway number 1, and that is the Young Bucks visiting the house of Kenny Omega. Now,
hell of a house.
You can see the picture behind us, a beautiful painting of Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Pretty much
nice.
Like to the T, perfected, like exactly what they look like at the moment.
Specs were on point. I think both guys looked tremendous as they usually do. I mean, you saw the V going into
for Don Callis was amazing. I'm not sure if Don Callis is. I'm not sure if Don Callis ever had a physique that good in his wrestling career, but he got one here. So they show up there trying to talk to Kenny. Kenny's not there for some reason. Alex Marvez is there though, and then they run into Don Callis, and Don Callis tries to pay them off, so they'll leave Kenny alone. And the checks really aren't much because the Young Bucks make a lot of money. First off, if this is Kenny's actual house, you can't hide. You can't hide money because you see all that sweet con money coming in because of the way his house looks. But they try to buy. Don Callis tries to buy off the Bucks. They're not having it. They break up the checks. And then they beat up Don Callis. You don't get to see it, but later on you will see Kenny Omega run into Don Callis at the arena, and Don Callis will have a black and blue on his face.
If that was a real one, they could he could be seeing a little plan here to break up.
He could, he could be trying to set something up himself. But
puppet master right now.
I thought it was an enjoyable segment. It was comical, a little funny, and it was fine. It's just building. Eventually, it's probably going to be the Good Brothers versus the Bucks, title versus title at a pay-per-view eventually.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was funny. The house was awesome. It was a different thing that AEW hasn't done, where they've gone away from like the arenas. They're in someone's home. It was definitely interesting. I love when Marvez just gets shit because he just like has a face, someone you want to give shit to at all points of the time. So it was definitely interesting. Definitely a good thing. But again, like you said, just leading to the Bucks versus the Good Brothers and kind of ripping apart the Elite, for good maybe, where Kenny is breaking up with the Bucks, and it's all kind of just Don Callis being the puppet master, keeping control of the number one guy in the company. So that's kind of what it was. It was a lackluster AEW. This is one like the highest points. It just it's we're kind of in a little bit of a where are we going next on AEW?
Yeah, basically at this point. But guys, that's takeaway number one. A funny little segment there for the Elite to have, and we'll see where that goes going forward. But all signs kind of point to that happening. Now let's get to another interesting thing on the show. It was Sting congratulating Darby Allin, and this is an awkward segment. I really wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm not a huge fan of the Sting stuff so far, just because it seems like it's been going on forever and nothing much has happened. And you get more of that here. You have Sting to begin congratulating Darby Allin being DNT champion, and then he gets interrupted by Team Taz. Team Taz lost a lot of trash and talked about street fighting, and I guess they're basically kind of challenging to a match. Eventually down the road, God knows when it's gonna happen, and they kind of just walk out afterwards. Darby Allin says, if you want a street fight, be careful what you wish for, because it might actually happen. And we may get that match. It's a match we've been talking about forever. Probably a 6-man tag is most likely how they're going to utilize Sting at this point.
They're going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, it could be a regular, 2-on-2, but I don't know. I thought Cody was gonna be part of this, but I guess he's not. I'm not sure. This whole thing is kind of like all over the place and nothing much. There's not a lot of substance here. It's not a lot of just meat and potatoes type stuff. It's just kind of like there, but nothing's really happening. They kind of just keep wanting to have Sting on the show with Darby Allin get the rub, and they kind of just keep holding pattern all the way through. Yeah. Nothing's really much going on there. I'm not a huge fan of any of that.
I mean, I would like to see less of Sting. Maybe just have Darby getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And, where Sting at, and then he shows up and saves the day, kind of like what he did last week. But I don't know, it's weird. It's definitely not flowing very good.
Yeah, it's not. Next thing on the show, we had Private Party and Matt Hardy taking on Top Flight and Matt Sydal. Interesting finish here because you have Isaiah Cassidy using a chair to help Mark Quinn get the pin and win the match. So maybe the heel turn looks like it is coming between Matt Hardy as like the the agent to Private Party. So the heel turn is coming. They did show up at Impact Hard to Kill as well. So Impact on Tuesday they showed up there at the event, Private Party and Matt Hardy. So the heel turn is coming for Private Party, something a little different for them. Let's see what happens with that. Next in the show, we had Penelope Ford taking on Layla Hirsch. I thought the match was pretty solid. It was what it was. Penelope Ford gets the win. Then you have Miro embarrassing Chuck Taylor in the ring because he is his manservant now. So that's all you got there. We'll see where the story goes from there. Kind of feel bad for Chuck Taylor, but we'll see what happens.
He'll get his payback.
Yeah, he'll get his payback. Next thing on the show is the main event. It's takeaway number 2. It is the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge. And, it is MJF and Chris Jericho taking on Santana and Ortiz versus Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. I thought the match, it was pretty solid. I just felt like the whole thing was kind of pointless in the end. Now, it seems like at least Sammy Guevara is probably going to be leaving the group soon, maybe have a babyface run because the match ends with MJF cheating to win by grabbing the tights on Sammy Guevara. So, now it's MJF, Chris Jericho who get their shot to become a tag team, the only tag team in the Inner Circle, and go for those AEW Tag Team Championships as they move up the rankings. But that's pretty much all it seems to be leading to is that that's going to happen. Sammy Guevara leaving the group, having a babyface run, maybe take on an MJF or something like that. But we'll see what comes of it forward. But yeah, all signs seem to point to that.
Yeah, I mean, this felt really pointless. Like you said, just what's the reason of first of all, adding MJF to it made the group too big, and it kind of just made the numbers way too of an advantage against every other group in AEW. So there was that. The fact that they have to break up a tag team and who could be a tag team. I mean, I don't understand why that has to be a thing. I feel like they can all just kind of go for it or whatever, or at different times, whatever. What's the point of breaking up tag teams? Doesn't make any sense. Maybe Sammy will go on a run. I think that this leads to more of Sammy and MJF kind of getting into their feud, whether it's a babyface run or if it's for the right to stay in the in the group. I guess that's maybe where they can go. I don't really see Sammy Guevara going into a full-on babyface and going on his own and being his lone wolf. I just think they're going to be an inner feud where MJF and Wardlow are going to be taken out of the group at the Inner Circle at one point. That's where I'm seeing it going. But yeah, again, like I said, this really didn't. I don't know. This match really didn't couldn't get behind because it really made no sense, and I really wasn't interested in the fact that the whole group was fighting each other.
Yeah,
which I don't want to see them because they're one of the best things on the show. I don't want them to break up. So
yeah,
they're just kind of weird to me.
They're one of the most entertaining things on the show, so we do not want them to break up. So we'll see where it heads from here with the Inner Circle. But that's not the best episode of AEW Dynamite. It's been kind of 2 episodes that haven't been all that great. They're kind of in a holding pattern, fleshing out the whole Impact AEW thing. We did have Tony Khan at at the Impact show on Tuesday. He was in the crowd, so I mean they're slowly doing it, but it requires you to watch both shows. So if you're not an Impact person, you don't have the channel on cable, so it's kind of rough in general. But that's takeaway number 2. We'll see where AEW kind of goes from here. 2 lackluster shows in a row. They're still winning in the ratings, but in the end the shows just haven't had a lot of substance to them. You got the Sting thing that's really not really hitting it that well, but those are 2 takeaways from AEW Dynamite. Now let's get into some news regarding Busted Open Radio. Booker T and Bully Ray talking about AEW and NXT. So starts off with Bully Ray. I'm going to read it to you guys right now. He says, a lot of times you watch AEW and guys and gals are missing stuff. It can get indie-rific at times, and the NXT product is a lot more polished and the work rate is extremely tight. That's coming from Bully Ray himself. So he's just saying, too many flips and flops and flies, and they're not laying all their stuff in, in general. And it's just a lot of guys that aren't probably TV ready or TV or just experienced enough on TV wrestling to kind of get their stuff across. Now, Booker T added, I agree with Bully Ray in a lot of aspects, but in the business, you've got to be able to figure out how to do the same thing everyone else is doing a little bit different. Yeah. And I think that's what AEW is doing. He is correct in that aspect as well. They are doing something different. It has more of like I think it's just different because it has more free-flowing feel to it, and it's not so strict and regiment, like each segment is kind of cookie cutter at WWE style. So that's mainly what it's different. They do some out-of-the-box things. Some stuff are different, but they're still a TV wrestling company. So in general, I agree with both point of views because, again, there's a lot of flip-flopping and flying. There's a lot of 6-man tags with just a lot going on, and people just they tend to go too much into that well, and a lot of guys just aren't made for TV wrestling. To be honest with you, they don't have the look, and some of them don't have the actual mic skills to be on weekly TV or the character development to be out there weekly. We've seen that happen to a couple guys where it just kind of doesn't hit because they're out there weekly and they're just not used to that or made for that or are accustomed to that. So there's a lot to handle there for them, but that's pretty much it. It's just that it's 2 different animals, and you either you love it or you hate it, or you're kind of indifferent about it. So that's pretty much it from Booker T and Bully Ray on that one.
Yeah, I think that both guys are right. I mean, I think each of them make valid points, and that's where wrestling is so subjective, where it's like kind of what do you like? WWE has their system, they have their formula. They're like a big college football program like Alabama. Like they have their system. They're the Patriots. They have their system. This is the way. This is how we do things. You fall in line. We train at the performance center. This is how our matches work. Where AEW is more of this free flowing. Everybody kind of makes up everything as they go, and they're just, it's definitely a lot more freedom. And I think they might have to take it back a little bit because we see a lot of the same stuff going on in matches all in the same show, and that's never too good. Where we see, like the whole, all right, guys, you stand there, we're gonna jump on, like that's that whole stuff. That I think that needs to be taken down to once a match, or so sometimes we see that 3 or 4 matches are all a bunch of high spots, and sometimes that just gets after a while you're like, all right, whatever, I've seen the chair 4 times this time, it doesn't mean anything. So that's kind of where AEW's at, and I think they're still learning, they're still growing, and they're still getting their process down. I don't think they'll ever be as formulaic as WWE, because that's just a system that's been in place for years, and that's how Vince likes it, and that's how Vince has made it, where Tony Khan's kind of taking every indie wrestler that has any type of Twitter following and putting them on the show, whether it's on Dark or AEW Dynamite, and they're just kind of like, all right, man, do what you can do, and we'll see if you stick, and if you do, we sign you. If not, then we'll see you next time. So it's kind of where they're at. So I mean, they're still only been around a year. I mean, when you think about they spend more time without a crowd in the pandemic than they did when they were live crowds going all over the country. I mean, that's kind of where they're at right now. So just, they're still growing, but they're doing a good job, and you either like it or you don't. And we got 2 different shows, and they're different, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see the same show twice. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, NXT is a little bit more not as formulaic as the main roster, because remember, it is Triple H's project, but
it's still like false finishes and
yeah, some of the stuff still has the same vibe, especially since it went to the USA Network. You can check out my video about NXT and the ratings. I'll put it up in the corner right now if you guys want to watch that, about how NXT can change things up a little bit. And since the move to USA Network, they have been a bit different. It's not the same NXT that we love so much. It's still good, underground, but it doesn't have that same like feel to it, and it's kind of odd. But both guys are correct in their assessments, and it's just like a little bit like an in between area there as to why there's a difference between the two. And it's not glaring, but it's noticeable. And some of the stuff you do, like I said, either you're into it and you love that style of just flip flop and fly style like that with not ton of selling and stuff like that, and then it's all you. If you're indifferent about it, then it kind of is what it is. But that's the news we got for you guys today. Some Booker T and Bully Ray on AEW and NXT. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and then comment on the video what you guys think. We appreciate you guys, and if it doesn't work for Bill, do not do the job.
Later, Mom.